Good afternoon, good peoples. It is North America evening on Tuesday after trading for 520. Interesting day. My miners just ripped up. I got to tell you, I had some 20 percenters, some 15, 14, 13. So my mining stocks flew, and overall, it wasn't a bad day in the markets. So let's get into Yieldmax. I do own Coney and I do own Plty. So that's what we're going to cover. All right, interesting. No trades on either one. There were trades in Misty and there were trades in GDXY. I'm covering those, but I'm not yet doing the videos, guys. I want to get my base down. Um, so let's jump into Coney. So not a lot changed here, except for this stood out. You on Pulte, you'll see Palantir PLTY, you had an addition, right? Like 4 something%, like 400,000 or 500,000 shares. Over here, this thing sold off 775,000 shares and they didn't make a trade. So that means they had enough cash that they could sustain it. And, you add positions sometimes when you get money flowing in. Well, even Pulte didn't add any trades, but that's okay. Pulte's just getting ready, wants to keep its cash for that big payout, guys, that we're having. And I got some interesting to tell you, even though I've made my prediction, it could go even higher. Just based on some things I'm seeing. So in Coney, let's continue. This changed a little bit. It was up around 67. So just moving down. Speaking of that, let's go down here. So coin was down 0.99% from 263 something to 261. Not a lot, right? Enough on the synthetic, we dropped like 60, we dropped about 11 million, if I recall. Again, paper value, right? We're still above the 250 synthetic. Down here, Coney was relatively flat, down a penny, if I recall. I know it's been 877, and yesterday I think was 876, so it was down a penny. Interesting. So we're doing better than coin is doing. And coin is flat. Remember, guys, on this. So we talked about this. So this synthetic drop value, right? Again, it's paper at this point, but it's not that far out. So what's interesting about Pulte's already set. They're going to pay what they're going to pay. Management's probably already figured it out. They got the cash set aside. These trades don't matter for what they're going to pay you. In Coney, it's the opposite. This week is the last full week to do everything that matters. And we're dropping a little bit of cash, although very small movement, but on the synthetic, right? Um, so let's go to these weeklies. Well, we gained here, right? Because all you had was a bunch of what I refer to as naked calls. Normally you have spreads. You have the insurance side of going long and buying the call. Well, they chose not to do that. And that's okay. It's working out just fine because these start at 265. So you want, in a perfect world, you want this at 264.99. You go back up, 12, 13, 14 million in paper value or in your synthetic, and you gain the rest of this. We've still got, 12 or 13. Look at this. We've got this 4 million. It's still to buy back would be 5 million. This is almost 2. So we've got 10, 12 million that we can finish collecting by having these all go to, 3 cents, 2 cents. And the flex system, you always have to pay something. Okay. So this shifted from about $1.12 to $1.03, and it's right in here, right? This thing was worth close to 23, 25 million paper on the active one. So again, they need to close out to pay us, but I can pretty much assure you, unless something radical happens in the next 3 trading days, that you'll see a 70 cent, maybe 80 cent. I've been hoping for $1 because I own a fair amount of Coney, just thinking it's very undervalued. So I bought a lot in when it dropped this low. All right, so that's what I have here. I don't have any other secret sauce. You know, we're a week away. And you can see here previous distributions, right? May was 65 cents. Um, so remember, this is what the second May payment. I think what happens is we declare on 5/28 and then pay on 5/30. So it's that kind of month where you get paid twice. And remember, all of these monthly payers end up with 13 payments. So some month gets that 13th payment. And it just depends on what their calendar, how it works out. Some got it in January. I don't know if it was Pulte or whoever it was, but I keep a sheet tracking, you know, all of my payments. So that's when I notice it. All right, guys, that's about it. I mean, really flat. When you're $1 or two and maybe $2.50 on a 260, it makes sense. They figure this S&P influence of being added, it's not going to go down much. Ultimately, sometimes it goes down when it's added, but the whole point is the initial fly up is all based on the news, right? Buy the news, sell the, what is it? Buy the rumor, sell the news. Well, in this case, the news was fantastic, but I don't see it retracing. I think it retraces on its own merits. Crypto would have to go down, and then it's very likely, or they would have to do something poorly. They've already, announced their earnings previously. So I'm pretty bullish on coin. I'm still worried about where the market is, right? Crypto at times is risk on and risk off. Lately, and for quite a while, it's been risk on with the market. So if the NASDAQ goes up, it goes up. If the NASDAQ and the general market go down a little bit like they did yesterday, then this goes down a little bit. So there's once or twice that crypto sort of stood out as a store of digital gold, a store of wealth. Clearly, gold and especially the white metals, for those of you that care, I know I'm in Coney, I'll say it real fast. Palladium today confirmed its breakout. Big breakout. Yesterday it broke out just above its breakout line, and then today it flew up 4 or 5% and in the pre-market and stayed. So the white metals, and that takes silver with it. So palladium, platinum, which are very much industrial metals, especially palladium. So I had a lot of stocks up 10, 13, 14, 15. I had a silver stock up over 20%. That you guys that aren't into watching my miners and review of top mining stocks really ought to be looking at that because that's where the money is going to go. I'm still going to report on all of the yield funds, so don't worry about that. All right, let's jump over to Pulte. Uh, and similar in that there were no trades, but look at the noticeable difference here. I'm sorry, I said 4 or 500, up 225. I think if they were up 400, 500,000, they pretty much would have had to put on more synthetics. They would have had to utilize that money. But remember, they're also making a big payment, so we'll see what that payment's going to be. 36 million. This moves slightly. Again, what did they do up or down? Well, let's take a look. So down 0.59, right? Um, Coney coin was down like 1%, and this was 0.11. So again, better than the underlying. You always love that. So we're at 70 and a quarter on Pulte, 125.59. How does that affect us in the spreads? Well, we gain money in the spreads. Anytime you go down, we lost a little bit in the synthetic, the current synthetic at 115. All right. So on these guys, we haven't even reached those levels. So this thing can sprint right up to 131 going into the close for Palantir, and we win all of our weekly sold. naturally, by not going to a minimum of 138, this was just insurance money spent that we're never going to collect on. You only collect on this insurance when it gets above 138 here, above 140 on this guy, above 143, and above 145. So that's what they're there for. They're classic spread, right? Sell low, buy high to cover yourself. All right. So on the share count, that was up 393. That was up 393. So, I'm sorry, somebody had knocked on the door, but I sent somebody to get it. All right. Um, what do we have down here? Guys, don't worry about this. And the only point I'm making, let me go back to cash. All right, I did something and I made a note of it yesterday. They're setting on 60 million. They always do this for a reason going in. So they're going to declare, but technically they could still move it around on Wednesday or Thursday, right? Because they're actually going to pay you first thing in the morning on Friday. So they're going to declare here this evening, right? Or really, it's the next morning for you guys. They'll declare 2 hours or so before the market opens, 2.5. It varies a little bit, and I'll be out there and I'll report on the actual guys. So again, at 60 million, they're never going to use 100% of their cash here. But had they wanted to, what does that represent at the current? It's $10.20. Are they going to pay 10, 20? No. But it makes me think they're going to pay $7 or $8. Could they? Will they? I had 638 saying that I thought they could go 7. Again, it's really up to the management team. Um, and I'm not trying to change. I'm going to, I predicted what I predicted, estimated what I estimated, right? So that's the TWC estimate. And I'm sticking with it. I'm just saying to you, I'm hopeful because I'm the largest amount of funds that I have in any Yieldmax fund, and I only own 3, maybe 4, I think now, that it's in PLTY. Why? Because I love, love, love Palantir. But not so much that if it were to falter technically, or I see things, look, I move out of things. I never fall in love in the sense that it's just if somebody asks me, what do you think's the best software company in the world? I'd tell you it's Palantir, without a doubt. And I firmly believe that. All right, guys, I got a little side note for you. Let's take a look here. So I love to bring you news or articles. This came out today. Leveraged Palantir ETFs are now the top performers of all ETFs in 2025. Okay. Up 71% so far in 2025. Shares of Palantir. Actually, my numbers are just slightly lower than that. So this came out today. So when I built this little chart to show you, so interesting, they were talking about the two funds. So there's, Palantir itself, and then there's two 2Xers. There may be more, Defiance may have one, somebody else, Roundhill. But the point being, these two were the ones that talked about. Okay. And Granite shares, which I cover, and you know that I've interviewed Will before. PTIR is the symbol. And the other one mentioned is PLTU by Direction, which is a very large company, right? It's where Sylvia Jablonski used to be the CEO, CIO at Defiance, who I also interviewed, and we talked a little bit about that, having come from there. And I told her how I traded the 2X and 3X mining stocks back in the 2000 decade. And she said, oh, yeah, she remembered that very well. And subsequently, the U.S. kind of outlawed the 3X, but it looks like 3Xs are coming back now in the way of the indexes. Europe has even some 5X. So shares of Palantir are up, but they were talking about is push. Despite the rally, investor flows have diverged. PTIR has seen outflows of 90 million this year, while PLTU has pulled in 195 million in new money. All right. So in my little table that I built for this, I used yesterday's close. Yeah, I know. I looked at 520, but since this article said they were 100%, I wanted to, in fact, keep it that way. They both went down slightly today. Okay. So this one's like 99, this one's like 98, something like that when I plugged in those numbers. So then when I wanted to compare Palantir, and I also used the close on 219, which is when you write an article first thing in the morning on May 20th, that you would have to use the closing price. So this is what I have year to date 67, 99, 100, still fabulous. Now listen, guys, I do not normally recommend, nor do I recommend, how about that you buy whole long term on these 2x leverage. It's different when you own a 1.2 like PTLW. What is the round hill escape me? Yeah, I think it's PLTW. They got so many different, and I know it's COIW for that, but I think it's PLTW. I don't own it. I probably should. When I did the comparison, Roundhill with its leverage and its methodology of the swaps, you're probably listening to my video that talked about what Yieldmax will be doing and changing, and I think they'll be doing that to stop the NAV erosion in some of the funds. It probably it will definitely cost them a little bit of money in payout, but then people will have that choice, and I think people will like it in general. But you notice that right away the first thing I noticed about the Roundhills is how little they paid. But again, their price is different. If I go out to Pulte and it pays $6, it's a $70 stock. Their stock might be 30 or 40, but it's paying weekly. And if it pays 40 something cents, it's less than $2 when you take it to the month level. But if the NAV is staying solid, which clearly PLTY is only half of its all-time high when Palantir goes back to its all-time high. So look at this, guys. Look at Palantir. You could have bought this, okay? I picked closing prices, not intraday prices. You could have bought it in the fives on December 27th, 2022. Okay. I said the low close was 592, so I need to change that. Okay. So I have that for everything. The only other thing I'd make a note of as I put in 12/31. Some people use January 1st. I like to use the last day of that so it's truly what did it do in 2025. Okay. Over here, check this out. There's a tiny distribution in the Direction Fund. 11.2 cents. The quarter before, back in December of 2024, that only paid like 3 cents. So, I mean, it's not much, but hey, it's better than nothing. And the management fees are pretty much the same. I had this one fully explained. This was their management fee. So I don't think they have the additional. I think they waived it for a while. So they're pretty much equal. It's nice to pick up 11 cents. If you picked it up, that's, 45 cents across the year. Hey, I'll take it. 45 cents on, a $55 stock's not bad. It's not paying anything at Granite. All right, guys, that's what I got for you. I just thought I'd give you a little added twist there. I happened to catch this article and I dug in and made this table for you and added a little bit of data. All right, I hope you love the videos. I've been working hard. I'm going to do some mining later this week. I'll come back out. I'm going to do my Cony, Palantir, or Plty every day this week. I'm going to do the announcement for the B shares. Obviously, I'm excited to see there's NVIDIA in there. I don't own any, but I think there's a GDXY and clearly Pulte. All right, guys, again, Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. Not a financial advisor. This is absolutely not financial advice. seek a financial advisor before making any serious investments. Okay, guys, bye. Have a great one. Bye for now.